So the Yankees are not done yet. They're not. Can't be. So it's been a pretty busy offseason in baseball, particularly for the Yankees, but a different busy, right? Usually, Yankee fans wait for a lot of the offseason for Brian Cashman to start getting busy in January, and then what he gets, right? And generally, he's been getting the big piece and not much more, big piece and not much more. We understand that, and it can be frustrating at times, but they've already addressed the lack of offensive diversity. He brought in 3 lefty bats: Juan Soto, Trent Grisham, and Alex Verdugo to balance out a very unbalanced lineup. And do I think they're done addressing that regard? I don't think so. We've also talked about they need to improve their depth. They need to improve their backups. They need to improve their bench. And they all work hand in hand with each other. And they've already, they claimed Jeter Downs off of waivers. They brought in Oscar Gonzalez off waivers as well from the Guardians. They've also traded with the Dodgers for Yorvit Vivas and Gonzalez, the left-handed reliever. And so they've got some good depth already. So, which also makes it easier for them, in my opinion, to move a guy like Epperson Pereira or Oswald Peraza. If they're not going to play these 2 kids, trade them and give them a chance to play elsewhere and get some value for them, please. Okay? But it also gives them additional depth so that if they're not going to play them either and they want to trade Gleyber Torres for a Marlins pitcher, let's just say, because it seems to me that the only scenario that Gleyber Torres might get traded would be for a Marlins pitcher with multiple controllable years. I'm not moving him for Dylan Cease. I'm not moving him for Corbin Burns. The White Sox or the Brewers don't really need him. So it doesn't make any sense to. And I'm not giving up Chase Hampton or Will Warren for either Burns or Cease either. So that's just my take on it. You let me know what your take is. But the Yankees can still get better. And the fact is, they've been improving around the margins. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of these underrated moves, some of these trades they made with the Guardians for a reliever, right? Dodgers, they've added a lefty or a righty reliever as well, right? Cody Morris and Gonzalez so far, which also makes it easier for them to move a reliever if they want to cut payroll, okay? And if they want to do that, they have the ability to do that. And remember, we've got Luis Hill coming back from Tommy John. We've got Scotty Frost coming back from Tommy John. So we don't know who's going to be doing what right now. I know they're looking for a closer. They're looking to add 2 starting pitchers, and there's a lot of frustration that the Yankees haven't moved yet. And it's crazy because a lot of the fans who said the Yankees need bats, not pitching, or some of those same fans are complaining that the Yankees not any pitching now. So I find it funny, but this is what happens. Okay, and again, let's break a few things down here. And I said this yesterday. The Yamamoto signing was a ridiculous overpay. And it slowed down. I think it made a lot of teams hesitant to massively overpay pitchers, none of whom are worth that type of overpay in the free agent market. So I get it. But the other 2 big fish right now, Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell, are also represented by Scott Boras. He likes to take things out. He likes to slow things down in the offseason. He does a lot of his dirty work in January, whereas Cashman does a lot of his dirty work in January. And they do have a good working relationship. So don't be surprised if the Yankees wind up with a Jordan Montgomery or a Blake Snell and someone else, maybe a Shota Imanaga or something like that. So there are a lot of options that are still available for the Yankees, and I do expect them to bring in 2 starters. Who? I don't know. I expect them to bring in a reliever too. Who? I don't know. But, and I've said this yesterday too, it doesn't make any sense to form a super bullpen when we don't have the arms to help you get to it. So sequentially, I think adding the starting pitching would be wise, adding them first if you can. So that's why it doesn't make any sense to bring in a guy like Josh Hader. I'd rather just spend half the price or a little bit more for a guy like Jordan Hicks. Or if you can trade for a reliever, you trade for a reliever. That's not going to cost a ransom. So, but the Yankees are improving around the margins. That is underrated. It's important too because, as when I talk about the margins, these not sexy moves. Like, look at some of the sexy, non-sexy moves they've made over the last couple of years, whether it be Ian Hamilton finding him off the scrap heap, right? Or guys like Wandy Peralta. Like I get just as pumped up when those guys get key strikeouts than I do when Garrett Cole gets a big strikeout. So those are margin type improvements, non-sexy moves that matter. Okay, and they've got a lot of bench depth, and we've talked about this too. And they may add another piece like a versatile infield or something like that. I mentioned Ahmed Rosario as well, and they've got a significant amount of bench depth right now. I mean, right as we speak right now, we were told that DJ LeMahieu is going to be the starting third baseman. That might change if they trade Gleyber Torres. I have no idea. He can move to second, or he could stay at third, and they can bump up Jorge Beavis for second base. Okay, he came from a very stacked Dodgers farm system, and he's got 6 years of control on the cheap. If they're not going to give Oswald Peraza a chance, then you give that kid Vivas a chance. While some of these other young prospects are continuing to develop, Vivas is also behind George Lombard. Well, he's also behind Roderick Arias, but he's closer to the majors than either one of those guys are. Okay, those guys have a higher upside according to the rankings, but those are just the rankings. You never know. If he does it on the field, he does it on the field. And we don't always know that the person's going to do it on the field, which is why I don't draw comparisons to players. Like I don't like to compare Jason Dominguez to guys like Mickey Mantle. I don't like comparing guys like Shota Imanaga to guys like Kei Igawa. Completely different ball players, completely different situations, completely different skill sets. So to me, those types of things don't make sense. Are they the right fit here? And I do think that the Yankees have done a pretty good job this offseason of bringing in good fits. Okay, so far, getting to some of those big left-handed bats early. They had to do it. They got the big fish in Juan Soto, and I do think they're in a good position to extend him, and they have more resources to do that. Even if they make a few signings, they're not tying themselves up for a decade like the Dodgers are. 12 years for the guy, or 10 years for the other guy. So, is it short term? Could be an attractive package, sure, but there's no guarantee that they win the World Series. No guarantee that the Yankees don't. So you never know. It's baseball. It's absolutely baseball. So, but I like the fact that the Yankees are improving around the margins. Have you noticed that? Improving in these areas that are underrated, just like adding bench depth, adding versatility, adding cheap relievers, controllable relievers. So, because if Wandy does come back, maybe they've replaced him now with Gonzalez from the Dodgers, right? So, if they move a guy like Tommy Kahnle, or if they move a guy like Jonathan Loaizaga, Cody Morris, the guy they just got from the Guardians, familiarity with Matt Blake, he's got controllable years, he's got a pretty good repertoire. So, and again, I trust Matt Blake to make these guys better. Whatever starters come in, whatever relievers come in, I do think at the end of the day they will add 2 starters and 1 reliever, and that would make for a pretty darn good offseason. But in the meantime, they're improving in these areas where people aren't really paying attention to. I like to pay attention to this type of stuff. So they're going to continue to make moves. So if you're not subbed, make sure you sub to the channel, because I'll keep you updated on all the news, all of it, and you'll be in the front of the line to get it. So I thank you so much for that. And Yankees are not done. They are not done. So stay tuned, people. Stay tuned.